This is the Public Square Institute, building super citizens through clear thinking. Episode 1. You're not furious enough about inflation. What inflation actually is, and who it benefits. In this scene, a shareholder realizes something has happened. His ownership of Facebook has been diluted. He used to own a third of the company, but the company issued more stock, and now he owns less than 1%. But those who made the decision hold just as much of the company as ever. And he's furious, because something of his was quietly reduced. Now here's the question. Why don't we react the same way when it happens to our money? Because this is a lot like what happens when the government spends money they don't have. We still earn money, we still have money in our accounts, but it's worth less and less. So the price of eggs, milk, gas, housing, everything goes up, while our dollars, our shares of the US economy, buy less and less. Your dollar, every dollar, has a certain amount of power. Not a symbolic power, real economic power. Each dollar represents a small claim on the total goods and services produced by the economy. If there were only $1 million in circulation, then $1 would represent 1/millionth of the total purchasing power in the system. Whether you hold $1 or someone else holds $1 billion, each individual dollar carries the same amount of power. What gives a dollar its value isn't who holds it, it's what fraction of the whole it represents. When Grandpa says he could buy a full tank of gas for $4, he's not just being nostalgic. 50 years ago, there were far fewer dollars in circulation. Back then, the total money supply was less than $1 trillion. Today, it's over $20 trillion. That means your dollar today is only worth 1/20th of Grandpa's dollar back then. Same paper, same ink, very different share of the whole. So what cost him $4 costs you $80. When Grandpa says, "A dollar used to mean something," he's right. It represented a larger fraction of the economy. If he found a $5 bill in his pocket, that's like you finding a $100 bill in your pocket. And that's the key to understanding inflation. Your financial position is a fraction. On the top, the numerator is your net worth, the money you earn, the money you have, and anything valuable you own. On the bottom, the denominator, is the total number of dollars in the system. Your standard of living isn't determined by the numerator alone. It's about the relationship between the two. We usually only focus on the top, earn more, save more, invest better. But inflation doesn't work on the numerator. Inflation works on the denominator. When governments spend money they don't have, they fund it with new money and new debt. That's what makes the denominator grow. That increases the total number of dollars in the system. The denominator gets bigger, and when the denominator grows, every existing dollar becomes a smaller share of the economy. The government didn't create value, they watered down the value of the dollar so that they hold more. When the denominator grows, every existing dollar becomes a smaller share of the economy. Your fraction shrinks, even if you did everything right. This is dilution. Like someone taking sips of your coffee and quietly replacing it with water. At first, it seems pretty much the same. You've still got a cup of coffee, but after 50 years, you're drinking 20 cups of coffee to get going. Not because you can handle caffeine better. No, it's because somebody made your coffees mostly water. Same with your money. Nothing dramatic happens to your individual dollar. It looks the same. Your bank balance doesn't change, but mathematically, quietly, it now represents less. This is why inflation is misunderstood. People think that inflation means prices going up. Gas costs more, groceries cost more, rent costs more. So the people charging for those things must be selfish. But that's not it at all. The rising prices are just the symptoms. Inflation is the loss of purchasing power. Inflation means your dollar is watered down. Now here's the thing. If you made $100 for every $5 Grandpa made, you'd be even. Nothing to get mad about. An hour of your work would be like an hour of Grandpa's work. But you don't make $100 for every 5 of his. Median household incomes 50 years ago, that means the average amount people made in one household was about $14,000, while today they've only risen to about $75,000 or $80,000. That means you're making about a quarter of the value Grandpa was making. Instead of making $20 to his one, which would be the equivalent, you only earn just over $5 to his one. That's right, you're making 25 cents to every Grandpa's dollar. So where's all the other money? For every $5 you earn, there's another 15 you didn't get. Now here's the part that almost never gets explained. New money doesn't enter the economy evenly. It enters at the top. Government spending, financial institutions, asset markets, those closest to the source receive it first. Those with enough power and money to influence politicians can divert the stream, so they get it first. And this matters, because that's why inflation isn't neutral. It transfers purchasing power upward. Even when stimulus checks go out, red or blue, it's a fraction of what flows into financial systems. Assets rise first: stocks, real estate, financial instruments. Wages and savings, in other words, your paycheck and your accounts, they adjust last and least, if at all. So inflation favors the powerful because new money goes through them first. They're closer to the source. And this is why inflation pairs so naturally with government debt. Debt allows spending today while pushing the cost into the future to be paid more and more by middle and working class earners. Inflation is how that cost gets paid. Not through a vote, not through a bill, not even through your taxes. It's through dilution. Rather than taking dollars from you in taxes, which you'd notice, they just steal some of the value of the dollars you have and the dollars you'll earn in the future. That affects everyone, but those closer to the spigot get more dollars to compensate for their losses, because those closer to the spigot generally own more stocks, more real estate, and other assets that grow in value with inflation, rather than lose value like your savings and wages. Those closest to the source actually gain purchasing power because they have a hand in the industries or organizations that receive the government money first. This is why inflation hits savers first. They're standing still while the denominator grows. And this is why inflation feels like working harder just to fall behind. Because for many people, that's exactly what it is. It's like you're still holding the same shares that used to be a good chunk of a company, but now they've issued so much stock that your shares are watered down to almost nothing. We just don't get appropriately mad about it because it happens gradually and nobody tells us about it. So if there's one thing to remember, it's this: inflation is not prices going up. Inflation is dilution. And dilution benefits those closest to power. They're stealing a little value out of your dollars and printing more for themselves. Once you understand inflation this way, as dilution, as irresponsible spending of new money, as an upward transfer of wealth, the next questions become unavoidable. Who controls how many dollars exist? Who decides when new money is created? And why does the system reward those closest to the source?